Imagine a river, its waters flowing under a vast, ancient sky. On its muddy bank, a sound cuts through the quiet hum of nature. It is the cry of a baby, then another. They are twins, abandoned and left to the whims of fate. Watching over them is not a person, but a she-wolf, her eyes gleaming with a strange maternal light. This powerful, wild image is where the story of Rome often begins. And you are here, where curiosity meets truth, to learn all about this tale of two brothers, Romulus and Remus, whose destinies were woven into the very fabric of one of the world's greatest cities. The legend claims they were its divine founders, destined for greatness from their first breath. The story starts shrouded in danger and betrayal. Their grandfather, Numitor, was the rightful king of Alba Longa, but his ambitious brother, Amulius, usurped the throne. To secure his power, Amulius forced Numitor's daughter, Rhea Silvia, to become a Vestal virgin, sworn to chastity. This was a cruel political move, meant to ensure she would have no heirs. But the gods, it seems, had other plans. Defying the king's decree, Rhea Silvia gave birth to twin sons. She claimed their father was Mars, the formidable god of war. This divine parentage marked the boys as special, but it also placed them in mortal peril. Amulius was terrified of the prophecy. He ordered the infants seized and cast into the churning waters of the Tiber River. The servants, however, felt a pang of pity. They placed the babies in a simple woven basket and set it afloat. The Tiber did not swallow them. Its gentle currents carried the basket safely downstream. It washed ashore at the base of a hill, the future heart of Rome. There, among the roots of a wild fig tree, the twins awaited their improbable salvation. As the infants lay crying, their calls were answered by an unlikely guardian. A she-wolf, known in the stories as Lupa, was drawn to the sound. Perhaps her own pups had been lost, or perhaps divine will guided her actions. Instead of harming the helpless babies, she was filled with a fierce maternal instinct. She gently nudged them and began to nurse them with her own milk, saving them from starvation. A woodpecker, another creature sacred to the god Mars, is said to have brought them morsels of food. This incredible scene of wild nature nurturing human life has become an immortal symbol of Rome's origins. The twins' survival was not left to the wilderness for long. A local shepherd named Faustulus was tending his flock near the river when he stumbled upon the extraordinary sight. He saw the she-wolf caring for the human infants as if they were her own. Astonished, he waited until the wolf departed before cautiously approaching the basket. He gathered the boys into his arms and brought them home to his wife, Acca Larentia. They decided to raise the boys as their own children, giving them the names Romulus and Remus, and keeping the secret of their miraculous discovery to themselves for many years. That's how it began. Under the shepherd's humble care, the boys grew from infancy into adolescence. They lived a simple life, learning the ways of the countryside, hunting in the forests, defending their flocks from wild animals, leading their peers in games and skirmishes. They were strong, spirited, and quick-witted, with a natural air of leadership that set them apart from the other shepherd boys. Their divine blood and wild upbringing forged them into formidable young men, unaware of the royal lineage that flowed through their veins, or the grand destiny that awaited them. As they matured into manhood, their reputation as brave and capable leaders grew. They gathered a loyal band of followers, mostly young shepherds and runaways who were drawn to their charisma and strength. They became protectors of the weak, fighting against robbers who preyed on the local farmers and travelers. Their exploits became well known throughout the region, but this growing fame also brought them into conflict. During one skirmish with shepherds loyal to King Amulius, Remus was captured and taken to Alba Longa to face the king's justice, setting in motion a chain of events that would finally reveal the truth. Thank you for still being here. Your support is needed to bring more amazing stories to life. Please subscribe to my channel at Chasing Sunsets 49. Hit like, share, and comment what you most loved about this story. Now, back to Remus. When Remus was brought before King Amulius, his true identity began to unravel. Faustulus, the shepherd, knew he could no longer keep his secret. He rushed to Romulus and told him the entire story of how he had found the twins by the river. Separately, the captive Remus's noble bearing and proud defiance caught the attention of his grandfather, the deposed King Numitor. putting the pieces together, the timing the story of his lost grandsons. Numitor realized the young man standing before him was his own flesh and blood. The family was finally reunited, and the truth of their heritage was laid bare for all to see. Fueled by the injustice done to their family, Romulus and Remus rallied their followers. They led an uprising against the tyrannical king Amulius. Their small but determined force stormed the palace in Alba Longa. In the ensuing battle, the usurper king was killed, and the throne was rightfully restored to their grandfather, Numitor. The brothers were hailed as heroes, their divine parentage and heroic deeds celebrated by the people. But having tasted leadership and victory, they yearned to build a city of their own. They returned to the place where their lives had been saved, the 7 hills lining the bank of the Tiber River. This was the land chosen for them by fate. However, the brothers could not agree on the exact location for their new city. Romulus favored the Palatine Hill, where they had been found by the she-wolf. Remus preferred the strategic advantage of the Aventine Hill. The disagreement escalated into a bitter rivalry, each brother determined to be the sole founder and king. They decided to settle their dispute through augury, a sacred practice of interpreting the will of the gods by observing birds. Each brother stood on his chosen hill and watched the sky for a sign. The story goes that Remus was the first to see a sign 6 vultures flew over the Aventine Hill. He claimed victory, but moments later, a flock of 12 vultures appeared for Romulus over the Palatine Hill. A fierce argument erupted. Remus argued that he had seen the birds first, while Romulus insisted his sign of 12 was more powerful than Remus's 6. The gods seemed to favor Romulus. In a surge of confidence, Romulus began to plow a furrow around the Palatine Hill, marking the sacred boundary of his new city's walls. This is where the founding myth takes its most tragic and famous turn. As Romulus marked out his city, Remus, still bitter and resentful, began to mock his brother's efforts. To show contempt, he scornfully leaped over the shallow ditch and the low earthen mound. This was more than a taunt. It violated the city's sacred boundary. Enraged, Romulus struck his brother down. "So perish all who ever leap over my walls." With his brother dead, Romulus became the first king. He named it Rome, after himself. He established its first laws, its senate, its army, laying the groundwork for a vast, powerful empire. The fratricide is dark and violent, but it served a purpose. It declared the sanctity of Rome and the priority of the state over family, a lesson written in a brother's blood. But is this dramatic tale true? History and archaeology offer a less dramatic, yet fascinating version. Scholars question the literal truth. The Latin word lupa was also slang for a prostitute. Some theorize the she-wolf was actually a woman of low repute, perhaps Acca Larentia, and that the story was later romanticized into a divine, wild origin. The motif of a divinely fathered hero, abandoned at birth and raised in obscurity, is common seen across many ancient mythologies. Archaeological evidence suggests slow, organic growth, not a single dramatic founding. Excavations on the Palatine Hill uncovered simple hut foundations dating to the 8th century BCE. But the finds point to several small, separate villages, not a unified city. Over centuries, these settlements merged through trade, intermarriage, mutual defense. Rome was not founded in a day by one king. It evolved over generations into a powerful urban center. The story of Rome's founding is therefore a tale of 2 cities. There is the Rome of the myth, born of divine blood, nurtured by a wolf, forged in a single violent act of creation. This is the Rome that captured the imagination of its people. It provided a powerful shared identity. It explained their martial spirit. It explained their connection to the gods. It explained their unshakable destiny to rule. This narrative was a potent tool for propaganda. It inspired soldiers on the battlefield. It justified the expansion of their empire. It taught Roman citizens that their city was special, willed into existence by the gods and worth any sacrifice. Then there is the Rome of history, a city that emerged slowly from the mud of the Tiber River. This Rome was built not by demigods, but by ordinary farmers, shepherds, traders. Its growth was driven by favorable geography, fertile soil, and a strategic position for trade and defense. This historical reality is less poetic, but it reveals the true foundations of Roman strength. resilience, cooperation, and the gradual development of complex social and political institutions. It shows that Rome's greatness was not a gift from the gods, but an achievement earned through centuries of human effort and adaptation. Ultimately, both the myth and the history are essential to understanding what Rome was and what it became. The myth is not a lie, but a truth of a different kind. It speaks to the values, ambitions, and self-perception of the Roman people. It is the story they told themselves about who they were and why they mattered. The historical facts, on the other hand, provide the context and explain the practical mechanisms behind Rome's rise to power. The two narratives do not have to be mutually exclusive. They can be seen as two sides of the same ancient coin. The legend of Romulus and Remus endures because it is about more than just the founding of a city. It is a timeless story about ambition, sibling rivalry, and the brutal choices that often accompany the creation of something new and powerful. It forces us to confront the complex relationship between our ideals and the pragmatic, often violent actions required to realize them. The myth gave Rome its soul, while history gave it its body. And so, the she-wolf's cry still echoes through the ruins, reminding us of a story too powerful to be forgotten. Which part of Rome's origin story do you find more compelling? The myth or the history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from you all. Subscribe for more philosophy insights at Chasing Sunsets 49. Like, comment, and share. This video is part of my Everything Roman series. Let me know what topic should I tackle next. Take care, and bye.